Hello out there, all you internet malcontents, and welcome back to Is God the A-hole? Is it possible? Is that the truth? We've been going a while now and still yet not smitten, not smote down by the creator. So I'm going to take that as tacit approval for what is the past tense of smite? Smoten? Smitted? Smited? Smotten? Let me know. Let me know somewhere. But I want to give a big shout out to Better Than Ember. Happy birthday, Ember. It was Ember's birthday tomorrow. I'm sorry I couldn't hang around your thing, but you did have a birthday stream and I wish I could have stayed longer. But yeah, no, happy birthday. Happy birthday. And stop stupidity in the house. Yep, absolute hooligan. Absolute hooligan. You can find him. But yeah, what is the past tense? It's yes, but what is the past tense like? Because you don't say I remain, like he was smitten, he was smote, he was smote. So we're yet unsmote. Okay, gotcha. Be smoted. Hey Tommy, good to see you. Archer, always a pleasure though. I love that you come in with smote as your first comment. You know, you don't even say hello. That's fantastic. Just smote. Smote. Everyone smote. Look, I like religious language. I don't like religion overly much, but I like the language. It's got its own words, you know, like its own words for ordinary things. It makes me no. Smitten is a totally different thing. I totally get that. Smitten is when you, like, you know, you see the amazing curvature of Mark Reed's head and you are smitten with the sheer audacity of that dome. There you go. That's how you'd use that. I'm in a mood. I gotta say, thank you so much for joining me, though. This is gonna be a fun one. We're on to, yes, everyone's favorite section of the Bible, the plagues. The plagues. It's all about the plagues. I mean, since 2021, I think we've had enough of plagues, but never mind. We're on to the plagues, and this is where it gets truly hilarious, truly very, very fast. So thank you for joining me, everybody. This is going to be a lot of fun. What have I got on? I do have a debate coming up. This one will be against Brody on the problem of evil, but that's coming up, I believe, on the 11th of next month. So hang in there. Do give a like, do subscribe, do something, anything. Smorton, hey Noise, good to see you. Smorton, Victoria, so good to see you. Human Tommy, I give a big shout out to Human Tommy. I love that you play the games that I do. It's just awesome and hilarious. Oh, speaking of games, I do tomorrow we are having a member stream. I do know that somebody, I can't remember who, they said they wish they were there for the member stream. Look, we do those every 2 weeks or every week if I can, like, jam it in there. You know, every week if I can muster up the fortitude to jam it in there, phrasing. So yeah, look, you're welcome to come in. I would like to hit up Little for the next one, see if I can't take a request from her, because she's been great coming in and talking and, you know, being just an awesome human being. So speaking of awesome human beings, there's Jinx. And speaking of amazing human beings, Stop the Stupidity for 10 readerships. Thank you so much, STS. I so appreciate it. Okay, I gotta warm up my voice then. Just give me 1 second. I've got the coffee. I've got the voice. I've got the thing. Let's do it. Stop the stupidity. Stop the stupidity. Yeah, okay. We're rolling. Let's get it done. Kayla. Kalia. Okay, that I don't think I can read that. Kalia. Black female atheist. Big screen bird. I remember Big Screen Bird. It's been ages since I've seen Big Screen Bird. Secular rarity. A Stefanik. A Stephen C. I don't know which it's supposed to be. I apologize. A Stephen C. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Hannah A. I believe I know Hannah. That Hannah's cool. Crafting home creation. Colliston and David Schneid. Is that just Schneid? Should there be an R? I feel like it should be David Schneider. Look, I'm not going to question your name though. David Schneid. There you go. There you go. Oh, stop. Stop that right now. I was smitten by kittens when I tried to put on their mittens. Okay, too much. Yeah, it's turning into Fox in Socks over here. Did anyone ever read Fox in Socks? That was my favorite book as a kid, and my mother hated it because it's basically Dr. Seuss torturing parents through tongue twisters. So I know when I was a kid, I always wanted my mum to read Fox in Socks because it was the best. It was the best book ever. It was. Don't even question it. Best Dr. Seuss book ever. If you disagree, throw your favorite in the chat and see it be absolutely crushed by Fox in Socks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. And yeah. Where was it? Where was it? I want to find this because it's the Tweedle Beetle battle. What do you know about Tweedle Beetles? Well, when Tweedle Beetles fight, it's called a Tweedle Beetle battle. And when they battle in a puddle, it's a Tweedle Beetle battle. It's a Tweedle Beetle battle. It's a Tweedle Beetle puddle battle. And when Tweedle Beetles battle with paddles in a puddle, they call it a Tweedle Beetle paddle battle. Fuck. And when beetles battle beetles in a paddle battle and the beetle battle puddle is a puddle in a bottle, they call this a Tweedle Beetle bottle paddle battle muddle. And when beetles fight these battles in a bottle with their paddles and the bottle's on a poodle and the poodle's eating noodles, they call this a muddle puddle tweedle poodle beetle noodle bottle paddle battle. And now wait a minute. When a fox is in the bottle where the Tweedle Beetles paddle with their paddles in a puddle on the noodle-eating poodle, this is what they call a Tweedle Beetle noodle poodle bottled paddled muddled duddled fuddled waddled fox in socks, sir. Dang. Okay, that is just glorious. That's just glorious. That's just glorious. Okay, that's just too glorious. Anyway, what are we doing today? We are not. It is torture, yes, and I love it so much. I love it. It is. Tongue twisters. Wild. But I got through it. I got through it. I got through it. I'm all right. I survived. I'm okay. Don't send anybody. Okay. I am yet unsmote. Unsmote. Dismote. I am unbesmote. So far, anyway. So we're going on to Exodus 7 and 8, if you are keeping score. It took a while to get here, but here are the beginnings of one of the most ridiculous stories that you will ever find in any book, especially the Bible. So yeah, open your pages, your atheist-approved Bibles only, please. Let's not get any of that King James or NIV stuff. Let's go to the atheist-approved Bibles that I know that you all have, because every atheist has an atheist-approved Bible, didn't you know? So, Exodus 7. Exodus 7. Why would I share audio? I don't have any audio. Stop. Hold it. There we go. Okay. So, Exodus 7. Wow. Okay, I'll get to the comments afterwards. So I guess I should, if any of you that are new, I'll do how I do this. I will read out the interpreted, and don't forget this is just my interpretation that has come from putting it in the framework of a Reddit post to the subreddit. If you're familiar with subreddits, they're just a sort of a thread for associated stories or posts or what have you. So the subreddit, am I the a-hole? And then I will go through that. I will offer a chance to vote. Please do vote, whatever the circumstances. And then you don't have to. You don't have to. You can silently judge. That's fine. And then I will go through the comments and read them out. So a couple of these comments I do want to address, but that's okay. That's okay. So, was I wrong for turning an emancipation demand into a supernatural showdown with Pharaoh? Yep, yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Considering that somebody apparently is the all-powerful creator of the universe who could just solve problems without any fuss whatsoever, I don't know why you're making demands yet not really just carrying them out. It's a bit weird, right? But that's okay. We'll get to why that's happening in a bit. So I had this messenger, Moses, who I commanded to demand from the most powerful person in the area to let my chosen people free. The Israelites, who I was trying to free, had become so discouraged. I need a couple of commas in there, I must say. The Israelites who I was trying to free had become so discouraged that they could barely listen to Moses anymore, so I decided to make things a little clearer for everyone. I told Moses that I would make him like a god to Pharaoh, while Aaron would act as his spokesman. Moses would deliver my messages and Aaron would do the talking. Essentially, I was turning Moses into my representative in front of the most powerful man in Egypt. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? I also told Moses that Pharaoh would not listen to him. In fact, I told him in advance that I would harden Pharaoh's heart so he would resist me, and this is probably where I need to explain myself, because deliberately making someone's heart stubborn and then punishing them for being stubborn doesn't exactly sound fair. And before anybody complains or thingos, I want to take you through exactly where it says this. So this is Exodus 7, right? And you can look this up in your own Bible. That it is Moses being told directly that it's not Pharaoh deciding to harden his heart by himself, right? And here is Exodus 7. Probably this one's better view, but it is, as you can see here, your brother Aaron is to tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites go out of the country. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and though I multiply my signs in Egypt, he will not listen to you. Right? Then I will lay my hand on Egypt with mighty judgment, act of judgment, bring out my divisions, my people, the Israels. So basically he's saying that he's going to harden his heart so he can impress on the Pharaoh how much he is God. Right? Like, it's not even up for debate that this was not the Pharaoh's... let's see if I can zoom this in him. It's not the Pharaoh's choice. Right? Like, it is not the Pharaoh's choice. At all. Which is wild. My intention was to multiply my signs and wonders in Egypt so the Egyptians would eventually know who I was and understand that I had brought the Israelites out of their land. Which I guess you can do, but it's like, how is that something, like, you're basically saying I'm going to punish you and all of your people for something I'm forcing upon you. I don't know how you get some kind of justice out of that. That is wild. I'm so glad this is sort of a mythological story, because that is a monster. Holy crap. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did exactly what I had instructed. Oh, sorry. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did exactly what I had instructed. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh, and it became a snake. Oh my God, sneaky snake from staff. This is like the Fox and Socks things all over again. I'm going to stop this right now. But it was a sneaky snake from staff. It became a snake, but Pharaoh's magicians were able to reproduce the trick using their own secret arts, and their staffs also became snakes. Really? How did they do that? Did God make them be able to do that as well? Were they demons? Were they other gods around? Apparently, they had the same magic powers that Aaron did. Who knew? Who knew? So from Pharaoh's perspective, my first big demonstration of supernatural power was met with an equally impressive demonstration from his own magicians. However, the difference was that Aaron's snake swallowed theirs, which was apparently my way of establishing that I was more powerful than whatever forces they were relying on. I really want to know what those forces are, right? Like, I really want to know that if there's only one God, and, like, so how did they pull this off? Surely, if they're using some kind of demonic magic, surely God can put up an anti-magic field. I don't know. It's bewildering. It's kind of like, yeah, oh, they could just do the miracles that God was doing. Really? How? Then and how do you know that Moses and Aaron weren't doing the same miracles? How do you know that they weren't, relying on demonic powers as well? I don't know. It's very strange. The Pharaoh wasn't convinced, so I moved on to something considerably more destructive. I told Moses to meet Pharaoh beside the Nile in the morning and confront him there. He goes, yeah, like a good riverside confrontation, like duels of old. Pistols at dawn beside the river. You know how it goes. Look, when you've got to confront a Pharaoh, 9 out of 10 prophets do it beside a river. Just saying. Now you know. Moses was to remind Pharaoh that I had sent him to demand the release of the Israelites, and the Pharaoh had refused. Aaron then raised his staff over the Nile, struck the water, and the entire river turned to blood. Hold on a second, it was Aaron that raised his staff. I thought it was Moses. Why wasn't it Aaron that was doing the talking? No, it was definitely tell Aaron, take your staff, Aaron, take your staff and stretch your hand over the waters of Egypt. And all the rest. Yeah, so it was so apparently I feel like Moses is just stealing Aaron's thunder right now. Okay, I've gotten sick of the Aaron joke, and probably everybody else has. So yeah, look, Key and Peele, fantastic, just amazing, love them. They're awesome. Isn't Moses just stealing Aaron's thunder here? Isn't Aaron the one doing the miracles? So apparently Aaron can do the miracles. Moses is doing the interpretation between God and Aaron. So apparently God can't just tell Aaron directly. So why is Moses needed? I don't know. It's very strange. Anyway, Aaron raised his staff over the Nile, struck the water, smote the water, one may say, and the entire river turned into blood. The fish died, the river began to stink, and the Egyptians couldn't drink from it. They had to dig around the Nile looking for water because the river itself had become undrinkable. I can't help but feel sorry for just random, Egyptian citizens. What was the capital in those days? I mean, it probably wasn't Cairo, right? Alexandria, maybe? Like what is now Alexandria? Memphis, probably. Yes, probably Memphis. Yes. Okay, that makes... I'm just reading now. Yes, that makes sense. Memphis does make sense. Old Kingdom. Yes. Okay. That's fine. Memphis, beloved by pharaohs and Elvis alike. Yes. So yeah, I can't help but feel sorry for just everything that needs the river to survive. What happened to the crocodiles? I know that there's crocodiles in the water. Did they just enjoy it because crocodiles, they like blood? I don't know. Questions. We all have questions. Then the Egyptian magician performed a similar feat. Really? Really, the Egyptian magicians did the same thing, which meant Pharaoh's response was essentially to shrug and carry on. What? How did the magicians do the same thing? And, like, this is how you know when a story is complete crap. Because if you turn, like, the river to blood, did the magicians turn it back to water then to blood again? Like, what is going on here? Right? Like, this sort of suggests that, yes, it was blood and then the magicians turned it to blood. Or did they turn it back to water? I don't know. I have questions. But all it says is, but the Egyptian magicians did the same things by their secret arts. It doesn't really say, whether they turned it, but you would expect that if a river turned to blood, you can't turn it to blood again. So how does that work exactly? How does that work? I have questions. And they're not being answered. It's just weird. It's just so strange. What is going on here? So Pharaoh went back to his palace without taking the warning seriously. Again, I knew this would happen. I had already told Moses that Pharaoh wouldn't listen, and he already said that he would harden his heart so he wouldn't listen. So really, it's not Pharaoh deciding that it's not much of a miracle. It's that God has already stepped in and said, hey, you're not going to believe this. Literally, you're not going to believe this. I could have simply told the Pharaoh, release the Israelites or else, and then removed my people from Egypt when he refused. Yes, you would expect that God would be able to teleport them out of there, or put everybody to sleep and then they just walk out, or, make them invisible, or, distract the entire population with a puppet show. Like, there's a million ways that an all-powerful God could have gotten the Israelites out of there, but he didn't. Okay, he didn't. And the reason why he didn't is because he wanted the Egyptian people to know that he could screw with them. He was Lord. And it says that in the book directly. I could have changed Pharaoh's mind instantly instead of hardening his heart to refuse. And do not dare argue with me that God didn't harden Pharaoh's heart in the story, because it says it on multiple occasions. It outlines it. It basically says that he will, then it says he does. Like, seriously, that is irrefutable. I could have transported the Israelites somewhere safe, but instead I chose a prolonged confrontation involving supernatural signs, public demonstrations, and increasingly severe consequences for an entire country, most of which had no idea what was happening, much less having any influence to change anything. And that's my major beef, or possibly sort of hamburger beef with this whole story. Like, you've got an entire country here full of people with different ideas, different goals, innocent families, people that have never done anything wrong. Maybe they like the Israelites. Maybe they don't think the Israelites should be imprisoned, but they can't do anything about it because a certain pharaoh has sharp swords and a long memory. Okay, like, so maybe there are good people here, but God doesn't care. He just goes, you're in this country? Well, you're going to suffer my wrath because of something I am doing to the Pharaoh. That I'm basically hardening his heart so he makes a decision. And it's the question comes up of free will. Sure, if God won't interfere because that takes away free will, why does he harden Pharaoh's heart? Why does he change his heart to say, I am not going to let these people go? How is that free will? But aside from that, that's a monster. That is like putting a gun to somebody's head to say, don't let this person out of a room and then punishing them for it. Like forcing them to do something, then punishing them for it. What an evil act to do on somebody. Holy crap. Holy crap. Yeah, but, and at the same time, like, but it's worse than that. Okay, it's worse than that because you're holding somebody at gunpoint to do something. You're not only punishing them, but you're punishing their entire family for what you forced that person to do. That is like a sociopathic level of evil that you force somebody to do something and then you punish like people who are just associated with them for what you forced them to do. That is something altogether heinously evil. So I'm glad this is a myth because wow, if that's your god, what a monster. Holy crap. I'm just waiting to be smote. Any moment now? No? Okay, we're moving right along. I'm going to see that as tacit approval for what I am saying. So now I'm wondering whether I'm the arsehole for turning the liberation of the Israelites... Yeah, and turn the liberation of the Israelites into a prolonged supernatural showdown, pow, with the Pharaoh, especially when I knew in advance that he would refuse, deliberately hardened his heart, and then used his resistance as a justification for escalating the suffering of Egypt. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, you Snowbogan. Kip, good to see you. Actually, there's a few people dropped in. Maya, good to see you. Always good to see you. You can drink tea. Awesome. Most of the of raw hamburger. Okay. But good to see you, Noise. Good to see you. Jinx is in the house. Good to see you, Jinx. Ask me if I care. Do you care? Do you care that God has basically mind controlled somebody into actions and then punished people completely unrelated to the to the thing that he did, blaming them and punishing them for something that God did? Is that, do you care? Is that a good thing to do? I don't know. I don't know. But Yahweh, not good. This is probably the most I would say the one paragraph that sort of blows some apologetics right out of the water, like the whole free will argument, right? Like, how can, like, if you say, well, God can't eliminate evil because he has to preserve free will, he has to, he's not allowed to violate it. Well, Exodus 7 and 8. And, you know, there is the Exodus passages 6 beforehand, or actually, I think even far back as 5, it says that God will harden the Pharaoh's heart. It's not just, like, a lot of them point to, oh, it only says that in one of the plagues that God hardened his heart. No, 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 no. Before it too, he says he will harden Pharaoh's heart. And then in one of the passages it said that he hardens his heart. I don't forget Maya. What? I don't forget Maya. I never forget Maya. Maya's awesome, yo. I never forget Maya. Maya won't let me forget Maya. I'll tell you that right now. Places demands on my shows and stuff. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Maya's awesome. But so this is the perfect counter to the free will argument. But it's not just that. It is like, you know, like can we just use some empathy for some poor Egyptian, you know, slave who, you know, not even Egyptian. Like, Egypt was it was the powerhouse at the time. I'm sure they had slaves from other lands. So could you imagine, like, some poor, you know, Assyrian slave or something? Somebody completely unrelated to everything, right? To everything. And you basically harden Pharaoh's heart so he won't let these Israelites that have nothing to do with you go, and you're punished not only for what some people, like, the status of some people that are completely unrelated to you, that you, as a slave, you've got no control over whatsoever, but also because the god decided to enforce the consequences because of something they determined would happen. This is psychotic. This is so bad. Was God wrong for doing magic at high noon? Yes. Yes, we have the supernatural showdown. And not to mention, how like, why is Yahweh letting the magicians do their tricks and magic that's identical to his prophets, right? Like, if you send your prophets out there, they do their sticks to snakes, right? And I'm talking in Dungeons and Dragons terms, okay? Because that's the only way I can understand this story. They do sticks to snakes, and this all-powerful god says, well, if the other sorcerers want to do it, you have at it, guys. I'm not going to drop a, anti-magic field or stop that from happening. I'm just going to let it go through. What is that? Like, seriously. What is going on? This is so wild. Anyway, the poll is up. Feel free to vote or not. It is your choice. I recommend voting. I think it's a good thing to do. And not just because it's my channel and it improves engagement, but it's just a good thing to do in general. And voting is coming up in the United States. I always vote, not just because I have to, but because I think it's a civic responsibility as well. So show your civic responsibility here at Mark Reed Atheism and vote for something. There you go. There you go. Although I do like that they've put the voting into one bar now, and it's not like filling up half the chat section. Look, I will say YouTube, it takes them a long time to improve, and they usually improve the things that don't need to be improved yet, and then ignore the things that desperately need to be addressed. But give them credit where credit's due. That was a good change. I will give them credit for that one. Smitten. It means I'm so taken with this person that I am perished. Really? I think you're lying to me, Jer. I think you're lying to me. I think that smitten means that maybe, I think they come from the same root word, like to be struck kind of thing. But I think that smitten is more like, oh, I'm struck with that person, as in you're love struck, or you're you know what? We've got a word in Australia that I can't say this early on in a video. Probably I'm really risking it, but we have like current struck, right? And that means somebody who has seen their first love and they're in love with her and they can't get over her. We call it, that C word, struck, right? That is actually a slang word in Australia to mean a guy that has fallen in puppy love with a, the type. So there you go. That's your Australian word for the day. And I wish I had a beep. I wish I had a beep. Hang on a second. Vote to recall God, maybe a smite. That's better than Ember. Happy birthday, Ems. Everybody say happy birthday to Ember. Give her a big Bigfoot Jesus. And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Lots of love, Ems, on your birthday. Well, it was yesterday, but yeah, absolutely. Everybody better. You better love Ember. Better love Ember. It's not auto. It's not actually. I'm gonna have to write it out. Yeah, and Robin Webster for 24 months. Actually, 32 months. Wow, that's it. That's really cool. Thank you so much. And Robin Webster for 24 months. Happy late birthday, Miss Ember. I believe that's Ms. Ember. I don't know. Look, I don't know the difference. I think there is an English equivalency, like Miss is unmarried and not married yet, and Ms. is used to be married. I don't care. Whatever you want to be called, that's fine. It's all the same thing, really. Let's face it. I hate this like in English, it's got this sort of hierarchy of different sort of you know titles for people kind of thing. Like technically a mister is only somebody that is an adult, and if it's younger, it's a master, and it's like, it's too hard to remember. We should do away with the whole thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed somebody. Externalism, welcome. If it's your first time here, very welcome. Quite interestingly, the number of Jews in Egypt, according to the Bible, were enormous. Jews never lived in big numbers at that location. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. We know from archaeological evidence, we know from even cultural transfer, like when the Israelite kingdoms were up and running, they had their culture was way more like the Canaanites and not like the Egyptians. And to not have any cultural transfer when the entire lot of them apparently lived in Egypt for that long is kind of ridiculous. I mean, antebellum slavery didn't even last that long, and the cultural transfer was enormous between, sort of African culture and European culture. So, it is just a story. I'm aware of that. I know it's not real. It is just a made-up story. What it probably is a mythologic or a legendary description of being under vassalage to Egypt. Being a vassal state to Egypt, which Egypt did a lot of vassalization, as a lot of big nations did at the time. Black females amateurs is Jenna. Is that Jenna? Like, Jenna from Oz? Jenna? Not from Oz as in not from Australia. Like, from Oz as in from Tang. The Atheist Network group used to be a thing. I'm not sure what exactly happened to it. I think Oz wanted to focus on DJing and music, which is fair enough. I get you. Music a lot more enjoyable than apologists. I will stand by that. I will die on that hill. Yes, music is a lot more enjoyable than hearing apologists. Contentious, I know. Argue in the chat. Bit tired from Ember's Rager. That's okay, Tommy. All good. All good. Silky, smooth, white, chocolatey tones of Mr. Reed. I don't know where you're coming from. Oh, yeah. I saw this short, actually, Tommy, that was hilarious. And it was like these two American girls. They were pretending to be American. But they were going, the Australian accent is so sexy. Like, and then this Australian guy's like, they're like, oh, say something sexy to us, Mr. Australian man. He's like, g'day, love. Yeah, you're right, Sheila, eh? And it was just fantastic. Like, seriously, I don't know who thinks the Australian accent is sexy. Apparently a whole load of people, and they're just objectively wrong. Like, I don't know what's wrong with them. It is a wild accent with all the charm and grace of a hippo in a wading pool. It is just... Unless you're tism, look, I'm with you, Tommy. A lot of times I've said I'm lurking and I have to comment. I'm with you. I hear you. I do. Ask me if I care. Says there was a massive workforce in Egypt. Yes, and we have the record of them being paid mostly in beer. Which look, I'm not saying that you should pay your workers with beer. I'm saying that they would not be unhappy about it, from what I know, especially Australian workers. If you paid your Australian workers in beer, I'm sure that would be against the law. I don't think they would complain, okay? But yes, there was a massive workforce in Egypt, and it got massive wages. So that's not slaves, right? They were Egyptian workers that built the pyramids and things. We have the records for it. There wasn't a massive slave workforce in Egypt. Probably union rules or something. I don't know. That's torture. Not sure what you're referring to, Jer. I assume either it's the story or listening to apologists. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure you're right. There's a lot of things that you could describe as torture. This show is torture. For me, the audience, Yes, all of the above. Hey, Simos Funk. Hey, good to see you. I was talking about you the other day. That you were an absolute champ who's sort of one of the OG debate people, been around for ages. Awesome, awesome. Not too hard to speculate. The majority of Egypt was effectively indentured to the construct of the state. Well, I mean, indentured servitude is a form of slavery, sure. But that isn't really like so the idea of an indentured servant is the indentured part is they're indebted, right? Like they owe a debt. So if you're saying they're indentured to the state, you're wrong, because indentured servitude means that you owe something. So you don't get paid. What you're doing is paying off a debt. That is indentured servitude, right? So if you're being paid, you're not indentured. Okay, it's just you're being paid. Indentured servitude is when you owe a lot of money and you basically get put in a, to service of a person, or they buy your debt off. They own the debt and then they work you, taking what would be your wages off the debt that you own. The reason why this is considered slavery is because a lot of the time, the person who owns the contract will, charge you for food or charge you for board or charge you for these things and overcharge them, and you either barely make a dent or you don't even make a dent in that debt that you owe. So it's kind of still slavery, but that isn't the case in Egypt. So it actually is hard to speculate that with, I don't know, indentured servitude being debt slavery, and the workers getting paid wages. That's kind of very, very hard to speculate. Noise ending says, Hamster Huey and the Gooey Kablooey. I don't know what that's in relation to, but I like that it rhymes. I do. I like the adult version. Okay. Wow. Okay, I can't say that. This is a good Christian channel. How dare you? How dare you? Pull out your Bibles. I keep mine in my Foxy box. Woof. Woof. That's the best place for a Bible. Captive jinn. That is a theory, right? That is one that I've heard from apologists, that the Egyptian magicians were using captive jinn or demons to do their work. Why God couldn't stop the demons from doing that is another question, right? If I had to convince the Pharaoh and I was an all-powerful God, and the Pharaoh's magicians were pulling demons out of their Foxy box to show that this person isn't a prophet, you would think that I, as the eternal, omnipotent ruler of the universe, could easily just stop them from doing that. But as the story says, God wasn't interested in the Pharaoh relenting straight away. God wants to show his power to the Egyptians to say that, hey, I can absolutely screw you up. And as a byproduct, everybody in your nation suffers. I don't know how that's good. Apparently it is somehow. I was taught that the demons that the... Aunt Jess says, I was taught it was demons that let the Pharaoh's men make snakes. Yes, that is what I get as an apologetic all the time. Yes, that is the most common one. But if the demons want to thwart God, then why are they trying to, because God wants to show his power. So it gets complicated, because if the demons want to thwart God, then they shouldn't try to keep the Israelites there, because that's what God wants to do. What God wants to do is keep them there so he can unleash these plagues on Egypt and show the Egyptians just how powerful he is. But the Pharaoh's magicians, says Noise, were able to reduce the trick using a pound of raw hamburger. Well, personally, I think it's just that there's a like you're talking about the bloody river kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, I think that, hey, a hidden reservoir on a staff just hits it on the water. But funny that the magicians could do it as well. Maybe God is relying on demonic powers. Maybe Moses and Aaron are. That's the thing. It's like, how do you prove that it isn't just all demonic powers, right? That God isn't interested in Egypt and it's Moses and Aaron doing congress with demons. How do you prove that? You can't. You can't. Like making Play-Doh. I think it was just that snake charmer trick where you wrap a snake around a staff and then you know throw it to the ground and the staff becomes a snake. It's kind of really bad, but we are talking about people that didn't know what what anything was. Like, they didn't have exactly the greatest technology. Memphis has the best barbecue. Okay. Hey, I don't mind a barbecue. I've heard that Southern barbecue was really good. What, that's Tennessee, right? Memphis, Tennessee? I don't know how I knew that. I'm very proud of myself now. I knew a capital or something, or a place in US. Yeah, there you go. Or maybe the magician just threw hamburger on the ground and the pharaoh went, whoa! Could have done. Could have done. Jinx says maybe Pharaoh's magicians turned the river into horseshoe crab blood. It's blue. Maybe the Pharaoh's magicians redid the entire Nile and made it like algae infested, like the reflecting pool. Maybe. Not saying. You're on vacation. Awesome, Kip. I hope you're somewhere just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely. No, I'm not going to forget Maya. She won't let me. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. One of my favorite people, I got to say. Mostly because she tells me I'm an idiot on most occasions. That's always a bonus. Native 8 says, surprise people what the tone police is going on here. Shenanigans and misfit antics. Shenanigans and misfit antics. Everyone here is awesome. I absolutely agree. Stop stupidity. Everyone is awesome in their own awesome way. Like, sometimes I look at people who are arguing flat earth and they're awesomely stupid. But these people are just awesomely fantastic. So, yeah. Elbows up, Canada. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Look, look, it's been decided. We have decided over here in the arse end of the world. Like, really, this is the arse end of the world. Look, one of our prime ministers, I think it was Paul Keating, once said, like, Australia is the arse end of the world. And a lot of the conservatives over here went, oh, how dare you? And nearly every single other Australian went, yeah, that's fair. That's 100% fair. Yeah, that's an accurate description. But so over here in the arse end of the world, we have decided that Canadians are just cold weather Australians. That's what we've decided. Look, Mark Carney came over here arguing for middle powers. I like him. I think he's a straight up guy. I don't know why our idiot government is trying to support the US when Canada's right next door and like 1,000 times better, 1,000 times more like us. Yeah, elbows up, right on. Absolutely. Now that I know what that means, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Burger struck. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I can't say that word. Look, YouTube does not like that word. It is an Australian staple. It definitely is Australian staple. You will hear people over here say it. Just like, so here's the thing. With the C word and Australians, people think that we just say it out in the street and yell it everywhere. That's not true. There's definitely time and place, right? Like, you would swear to your friends, but you wouldn't swear in a job interview, right? Like it's kind of that thing. So among your friends, totally fine. If you know the person, totally it's fine. But people just don't yell it in the street, kind of thing. But it is definitely is a staple that you know it will get bleeped, kind of thing, in a broadcast or whatever. But it's just a word. I mean, come on, it's just a word. BajaCon was great this year. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Look, Canada's now one of the places I really want to visit, mate. I absolutely want to visit there. Now that I know it's not like, because I always thought of Canada as having like, it's always going to be just a frozen hellscape. Okay, I'm sorry. That's my idea of Canada. It's just a frozen hellscape. It's basically like, what's the frozen one? Is it there's a which is the Norse? There's Muspelheim, and that's the fiery one in Norse, and there's a what's the frozen one land in Norse mythology? I've had a mental blank. I used to know this. Let me have a look. Niflheim. Yes, Niflheim. So yeah, that's how I imagine. But apparently, it's quite nice. Like where BajaCon was, I have been corrected. Speakers were pretty good. Oh, that's awesome. Not as good as Mark Reed, of course. I know that you meant to say they were pretty good, but not as good as Mark Reed. You know what? I don't know if so the idea of doing a in-person speech would scare me a lot. So that's why I want to do it. You know what I mean? Like having to do a presentation and a speech would scare the crap out of me. So let's lean into that. Let's make it happen. There you go. You missed a bunch. Oh, no one cares. That's all. It's all good. It's all good. I do not care, Ems. You are so amazing. It's fantastic. No, it's all good. Trust me, it's all good. Lots of love. Happy birthday and lots of love. I don't mind. I look. I know everybody's doing their best. Like it's not like anybody's. No. If someone's angry that you haven't shown compassion and charity, then screw them. Seriously, I know everybody's doing their best. It's all good. The Weasels and I did not see your birthday. Yeah, no, I gotta say, Ember did not. I didn't know Ember's birthday stream was on. I got a message on my phone that I'd set up previously, so there wasn't a lot of fanfare for it, which sort of I could have missed it. I didn't, but I could have easily missed it. So don't feel bad. Ember needs to broadcast more. I'm not blaming Ems. It's just yeah, not a lot of fanfare for that. Look, I don't like to make a big deal out of my birthday. I don't. I sort of go, I would rather just let it pass, especially this one, because it's my 50th this year, which is disturbing. Okay, I didn't think I would make it to my 50th. I got to be honest with you. I didn't think, like when I was 21 or so, I thought there's no way I'm going to make it to my 50th. I'm going to do something incredibly stupid and not make it there. I got to say. But, this year is my 50th. So, hey, half a century on this world gets more confusing as every year goes by. Miss is for young unmarried ladies. Yes, I go by Ms because I'm too old to be a miss. You're never too old to be a miss. You're never too old to be a miss. I refute that. I will die on that hill. Never too old to be a miss. No. I am absolutely not. Absolutely. If the you can have the little Miss books. Did anyone ever see those little Miss books? They were like the Mr. Men and then the little Miss. I don't remember what they were called, but there was the Mr. Men and then the little Miss books, and all of them were like, emotional hang-ups kind of thing. Like, not all of them, but a lot of them were. And a lot of them were like Little Miss Clumsy or, and there was like weird ones like Mr. Tickle. I remember those. I probably shouldn't, but I remember them. Beer bucks absolutely aren't Jer. Getting paid in beery bucks. Demons of the Gaps, says Noise. Yeah, apparently so. Apparently so. Aunt Just says, I need to accuse a Christian of using demons of the gaps fallacy in a debate. I don't know how that would come up because they would have to be arguing for demons, right, to explain some unknown phenomenon, right? I mean, yeah, if they argued, you're not wrong. If they argue, oh, well, the magicians could do it, we don't know how, so therefore it was demons, that would apply. But none of the Christians are arguing that, hey, we don't know how life started, must have been demons. Like, I don't know how that would come up. It'd be great, don't get me wrong, it'd be fantastic, but I don't know how it would come up. What's even more hilarious is when they go to science of the gaps or naturalism of the gaps. It's so ridiculous because nobody is saying that science or naturalism is the reason for anything. They just don't understand it. That's how you can tell someone hasn't understood the argument, where they're saying, you're just using science of the gaps. But science isn't the cause of anything. It's just, what? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Memphis is a strange man. Yes, Tennessee. Okay. I think Thulsa Doom shooting a snake arrow was more impressive. Native Atheist, is that a Conan reference? Is that a Conan reference? Didn't James Earl Jones? I don't know what the character's name was. Did James Earl Jones do that? Hey, ugly German truths. Hey. Wouldn't the real arse end be the South Pole? You're just the itchy furuncle above the buttocks. How dare you? But, it's still the arse end. Right, so when you're saying the end, like if you're saying, oh, we live at the end of the street kind of thing, you don't necessarily have to be at the very end. It just means you're towards the end, right? Like you're getting towards the end. So I get, and technically, Antarctica, like the ass isn't necessarily the bottom of your body, right? Like not necessarily. I mean, it's called the bottom, but it's not necessarily like the feet is the bottom. So maybe Antarctica is the feet of the planet, and Australia is the ass. Australia is the ass. Dr. Kip, how dare you? Speaking of Australia, I watched a documentary about famous Olympic breaker Ray Gunn last week. I think that I don't know. It's such a weird thing to see that. It is such a weird thing to see that. I have feelings about it. I think that above all else, it outlines some of the privilege that certain people have in Australia. Because the whole thing was, I'm not even going to talk about it, but the whole thing was that other people are way better at breaking in Australia that did not have the resources to make it to the trials to be selected for the Olympics. Questions come up. Well, why didn't the selection committee go to these other events that had better representation? Why didn't the Olympic committees, pay for better breakdancers to go to the Olympic trials? It smacks of one person being in a position because of financial reasons and, privilege reasons to be able to attend the Olympics, and that came out, right? When you're not selecting your Olympic athletes based upon ability and performance, and you're selecting it based upon who can afford to make the Olympic trials, that's what you get. I don't think it's necessarily her fault. I just think it's a systemic thing. You know, I think it's a massive problem. Look, noise. It's just we use this word starting with the C word of see unstruck to describe somebody who has been seduced by their first love. Just saying. No, Helheim is where the dead go. No, it's Niflheim. Niflheim. You should all come here, says Dr. Kip. Wait, maybe not all of you. I'll send out invitations. Look, mate, I couldn't even afford the plane ride, even if I could, which is annoying and yeah. Yeah. It is sad. It is sad. Your 50th this year as well. Oh, right on, STS. I didn't think I'd make it past 21. Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Hey, you and me both, buddy. We're half a century each. Between the two of us, we are 1 ton. There you go. A ton, by the way, is slang for 100 in the game of cricket, which none of you have ever seen, much less played. I'm not huge on cricket, but I know that they call 100 a ton. I don't know why. I don't know why. They just call it a ton. Because, like, a ton is 1,000 kilograms, so it makes no sense whatsoever. But there you go. There you go. I had those books, I think. Yeah, I think they were sort of, a lot of them were weird. I'll just say weird, like they were Mr. Strong and Mr. Sneeze and Mr. This, and then they had the little Miss books. I don't know, it's kind of odd. And some of them were like Mr. Sad, and they were like how to cope with emotional trauma. It's just very strange. Very strange. I think that was sort of, kids' introduction to emotional regulation and social acceptance kind of thing. But good to see you, Claire. Good to see you. There are demons in mediocre dreams. How the mighty have fallen. Yeah, I don't. This whole war in heaven thing, I don't. It's sort of something that came along later. Like the Jewish tradition and the tradition of the religion, there wasn't really a war in heaven. Like there wasn't this, oh, angels were cast out from heaven. It was kind of angels just like, and especially, Satan and stuff, they kind of just did what God wanted them to. Yeah. Evolution of the gaps. Yeah. STS, I will freaking, seriously. I mean, I guess it could be a thing. I don't like it, but it could be a thing, right? If you're saying, well, we don't know how this happened, therefore it was evolution. That could be fair. I don't know. Usually we don't use evolution like that, but you could argue that. It's kind of a bit unlikely, though, but how dare you? How dare you? I'm going to skip out. There's so many comments. Thank you for commenting, everybody. It's definitely what I'm after. Careful, it's been said she's not really a bad breakdancer. Yes, I have seen her. Look, UGT, yes, absolutely. Yes, I have seen better ones, her in better competitions, right? Like, this is the thing. There is other footage of ray gun breakdancing where she's performing better. But I will say her standard was not up to some of the better breakdancers there. Now, why didn't they go to the trials? Well, because a lot of them had to work, right? Like, so the position that Raygun was in, she was basically working in academia for some cultural studies thing. She'd done a dissertation on cultural studies, and she could afford to go and like do these trials. A lot, I know that the who generally people said was the best breakdancer in Australia, they were working as a cheerleader for on the Gold Coast for some rugby team, I think. So they could not go and go to another state, because don't forget, the distances in Australia are disgusting. Okay, it is disgusting how far it takes to travel in this country. Like, going interstate is not a small deal. Okay, it is a big deal, and she could not just take time off her work to do so. Right, so yes, absolutely, and she might have had a bad night. She might have had a bad influence. Maybe she had a demon telling her to make it Australia centric, and that was just terrible. But there was definitely better breakdancers than her. I get you. I get you. Yeah. No, no, no. There was a lot of speculation on that. I don't think she had any kind of, like, the people said that her husband was on the committee. No, that's not true. There was a lot of this kind of thing, but I don't think so. I think it was just a socio-economic thing. She could change, like, she could go to the place where they were having the trials, and apparently the trials that they had wasn't even the biggest breakdancing competition in Australia. It was actually a Red Bull one that was a bigger one. Why they didn't go there, I have no idea. Right, it just seems to be a complete sort of cascade of all of these social and economic and really poor decisions on the committee's behalf. I don't think it was necessarily Ray Gunn's fault. I really don't think so. I think I've seen the beginning of a cricket match once. Best sleep of my life. Yeah, it's incredibly boring right until it's not. I don't understand why tennis calls 0 points love. Isn't it like it's French for it like means an egg or something. I think it's lorf or something, lorv, and it means like it sort of means egg or something, or round or something like that. I didn't know love in tennis means 0 points. Yeah, it means zero. Yes, it means 0 points. I want to insult French sports, but considering we're talking about cricket, I really can't. That is not French. Rugby is French. They play rugby. In the game tennis, the score means love, meaning zero, comes from the French. Yes, meaning the egg, and it would, yes, absolutely. Oh, it's Louf. Must say, I didn't know that breakdancing was to be an Olympic sport, so it's opened up my eyes, guessing with many more as well. Yeah, good. Welcome, Mr. Spot. I think chess is now an Olympic sport as well, wildly enough. They've sort of opened it up for all kinds of different sports. Like it kind of. I don't think breakdance. So the really sad thing is that breakdancing is not going to be an Olympic sport for the next decade or so. Like, seriously, like, after that performance, Ray Gunn just destroyed breakdancing in the Olympics for who knows how long. And I don't think she did it alone. I don't think that was her intention. I don't think she's a bad person. I think she's not as good a breakdancer as she should have been. But I think that's mostly the committee's fault and what they did. I don't think it's necessarily her fault. So I don't think she deserved the hate that she got. She did her best. Like, she obviously had a bad night. Her choreography was absolutely terrible. Oh, apparently it's not a medal sport, but it's still in the Olympics. Oh, interesting. 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 Okay, if you could differentiate the difference between a sport and a game, like a sport, presumably you would say that it has to be physical, right? Like, in order to be a sport. There comes a couple of sort of border cases, like, is professional shooting a sport or a game in that case? Is darts a sport or a game? There's some real sort of, fine lines in there, UGT. And I get that. It's just, yeah. Anyway, that was Oh, at the Wacker. Oh, sir. At the Wacker. That is the West Australian Cricket Association. That is my local stomping ground. Welcome, Mr. Spot. Anybody that's been to the Wacker is definitely welcome here. Definitely welcome here. Okay, and the poll says, yes, God was the complete a-hole. I thought I had somebody arguing against it in the chat. Sports make you sweat. Yes. Look, I've had some chess matches that have made me sweat. UGT. That is not a definition, mate. Okay, we're going on to Exodus 8. So hold on to your Bibles. Hold on to your obvious your body of Christ, because we are going on to Exodus 8. Right. Yes, but I know that pool and darts are Olympic sports. They definitely are. So, you know, just saying, it's a fine line, right? Because darts and pool obviously need hand-eye coordination. Okay, yeah. Look, ugly German truths, you're trying to make English make sense. English is a stupid language that doesn't make any sense, that has no... So English is the uncoordinated brother of the Germanic languages. Okay, it is the uncoordinated little brother that drools on himself of the Germanic languages. It is so stupid. It basically copies everything it sees from every other language, makes absolutely no attempt to sort of balance them in with one another, and then claims victory over every other language merely by, making the rules. Okay, it is a terrible language and should not be taught to anybody. But since, like, it is the lingua franca of today's age, we've got to teach it to everybody. I am personally on board with teaching everybody Esperanto and doing away with this stupid language. But one of the things is, as uncoordinated as it is, it can be incredibly beautiful. It can be a beautiful language. Now, beautiful things aren't necessarily practical, but they are beautiful. So, yeah, I do love English while acknowledging just how stupid it is. I guess it's like, I don't know. I guess Angelina Jolie or something. You can acknowledge how beautiful it is while also acknowledging just how stupid it is. That's really nasty. I'm sorry. I don't know what got into me with that one. I think I saw the Eternals, somebody watching the Eternals or something, and I went, yeah, no, I don't. Yeah. Okay. Am I the arsehole for sending frogs, gnats, and flies because Pharaoh wouldn't let my people go? Yeah, probably. I would imagine that, yes, the reasons why are important here, and the reason why is because you hardened Pharaoh's heart. So absolutely yes. Can I zoom this in any more? Am I completely zoomed? I'm completely zoomed. What the hell is up with this? Can I... Whoa, that is some wild stuff. Hold it. Sorry. I thought I was... There we go. That's beautiful. That's more like it. I don't need a close-up of Yahweh's chin. Thank you very much. I've lived my life so far without it, and I don't need it now. So there was this Pharaoh to whom I had sent a messenger giving him plenty of opportunities to release the Israelites, who were slaves at the time. Yeah, we all know they weren't in real life, but hey, this is the story, okay? Don't come at me, all right? This is just the story. My messenger, Moses, had repeatedly told him I had wanted my people to leave Egypt so they could worship me in the wilderness, but Pharaoh kept refusing, so I decided that ordinary persuasion clearly wasn't going to work and began sending plagues. Yes, no, just sticks to snakes, first level cantrip, 0 level cantrip, or turning rivers into red blood. No. This time, it's serious. It's the plagues. We got there, people. This gets zany. The first one had turned the Nile into blood, which was already a fairly serious warning. But the Pharaoh still refused to change his mind. He refused to change his mind because God hardened his heart. But anyway. Apparently I needed to make things considerably more unpleasant before he was prepared to take me seriously. Or you could just stop hardening his heart. That's the other thing. The next thing I did was cover Egypt with frogs. Not just a few frogs around the river either, as I sent them everywhere in Egypt. They came into houses, bedrooms, beds, ovens, and I turned the frickin' frogs gay. Absolutely. That's what you do. Frickin' frogs. Frogs gay. Putting chemicals in the water to turn the friggin' frogs gay. Pharaoh's magicians were apparently able to produce frogs as well, which I suppose didn't help my case, but they were not able to turn the frickin' frogs gay. So yeah, that's when you know a god is involved, when they turn the freaking frogs gay. If the goal was to demonstrate that I was more powerful than the Egyptian gods and their magicians, allowing them to reproduce the same miracle was probably not my strongest strategic decision. Yeah, and this goes over and over. Like, he basically produces a plague of frogs, and then the Egyptian magicians do it as well. They just produce the frogs as well. So this makes no sense, okay? How did they tell the frogs apart? Like, how did they tell the Yahweh frogs from the, oh, I don't know, the Osiris frogs? And I don't mean Osiris, I mean Osiris, or Ra frogs, or who was the lead god? Wasn't it Ra was the lead god in Egypt? Like, so how did they tell the frogs apart? Yeah, Amun-Ra. Yes, so Ra. How did they tell apart the Yahweh frogs and the Amun-Ra frogs? I don't get it. Like, did one have like a Amun-Ra symbol on, and the other one had like a burning bush on the back of it? Like, were they categorized? Was one like bullfrogs and the other was like cane toads? What are we talking about here? How did they know which were which? And how did they know which freaking frogs were gay? That's the big question here. How do they know the frogs were gay? I don't understand any of this. This is the weirdest story. This is the story where if you have not read it, read it, because it is the most wild, unbelievable, like I mean as in it should not be believed, just ridiculous story with more plot holes than a Swiss cheese. Like, it is ridiculous. So the Aaron and Moses brought forth frogs. Apparently so did the Egyptian people. So, like, frogs appeared, then more frogs appeared. How did they know? How did they know it wasn't just all Moses and Aaron? Why didn't Moses and Aaron just said, yeah, that second wave was us as well? You obviously didn't get the like, what is going on here? I don't understand. It's wild. And why would a god who's trying to convince somebody to let them go, why did he allow them to produce frogs? Like, it would have been a lot more convincing if the magicians waved their hands over the ponds or the whatever, and no frog, and the frogs vanished or something. Would they have claimed that was them as well, maybe? Is that why that didn't happen? I have no idea. This is such a wild story. It's so ridiculous. Eventually, Pharaoh had enough and called for Moses and Aaron. He asked them to plead with me to remove the frogs, promising if I did, he would let the Israelites go and worship me. Does he get a choice in that? Because he was supposed to have his heart hardened? Moses asked Pharaoh when he wanted the frogs gone, which is an oddly specific question, considering that he obviously wanted them gone as soon as possible. Yeah, why would he ask that? Like, This is actually in the text. The Pharaoh goes, I want these gone. And Moses says, when would you like them gone? And it's like, oh yeah, next month if you could be so. The Pharaoh said the next day. If I was Pharaoh, I would say immediately, like right now. There is a frog on my crotch right now. I will not put up with these frogs a moment longer. But apparently the Pharaoh says, yeah, I don't mind sleeping with my bed with frogs. Until tomorrow. That's fine. I'm going to just sleep in my bed with frogs. Maybe he's got a frog fetish. I think we call that Miss Piggy syndrome. Maybe it's Miss Piggy syndrome. Yeah. Maybe he's fine with frogs in his bed. I don't know. If it were me, I would say yesterday, like as soon as possible. Right now, get rid of them. Because I don't want to sleep in a bed with frogs. Just saying. So Pharaoh said the next day, so Moses agreed, and I then removed the frogs from the houses, courtyards, and fields, they were piled up in heaps throughout the land, and the smell became unbearable. So you didn't really remove the frogs, you just killed the frogs. You just slaughtered the frogs and left them where they were. Maybe Pharaoh didn't agree to worship you, because that's kind of a crappy kind of removal. Like, I'm just going to kill all the frogs. My guy, like, just, send out children with sticks and you'll be able to accomplish that eventually anyway. Look, okay, so Australia has a plague of frogs and it's way worse than this one. And, we're definitely losing. We're definitely losing that one. So I'm not sure what people we aren't letting go. Maybe. I don't know. It's wild, right? Like, he says, oh, I'll miraculously remove all of the frogs, and they just up and die. And then you have to clean them up yourself. That's not much of a miracle, my guy. Yeah. Wow. Once the immediate problem had disappeared, the Pharaoh went straight back to refusing to let the Israelites go and worship in the wilderness. Now if you had seen that happen, why would you deny them and go, no, you can't go and worship in the wilderness? Because don't forget, at this point, they're supposed to be coming back, right? They're supposed to be going out, worshiping in the wilderness. I believe that maybe Moses is saying, hey, we'll worship in the wilderness. Hey, let's duck out the back while we're out here anyway, which is fair. I totally get it. If you're slaves in a place and you lie to somebody in order to get your freedom, I think you're absolutely fine. But, why upon seeing that? Well, it's because in the story, God is hardening his heart. He says to Moses he'll harden his heart so he won't let him go. And he says afterwards that he will harden his heart. He will change Pharaoh's mind to not let them go. So this is sort of Yahweh. What he wants to happen is happening. Letting the Israelites go is not what Yahweh wants to happen. He wants the Pharaoh to refuse so he can punish all of Egypt for it. That is the plan. Okay, so keep that in mind. I suppose this is where I could have simply moved on, but instead I sent another plague. Yeah, he could have just, made the Israelites invisible. He could have teleported them out of there. He could have sent all the Egyptians to sleep. He could have done a number of things. Hell, he could have created giant frogs for the Israelites to ride upon out of there. He could have done anything. But instead, he sends another plague. This time I told Aaron to strike the dust of the earth, and it became gnats that covered both people and animals. The Egyptian magicians tried to reproduce this one, but couldn't bring forth gnats as Aaron had done. Eventually they admitted to the Pharaoh that this was the work of God, but Pharaoh still refused to listen. Yeah, I mean, I still don't know how, if they brought forth gnats, you could tell the Egyptian gnats from the Israelite gnats. like, surely once you get to a certain amount of gnats, like, extra gnats isn't going to make any difference. And I hate that I have said gnats so often, because damn. Damn. At this point, I decided to make the next plague more personal, so I sent swarms of flies across Egypt, but I deliberately spared the land where the Israelites were living. And this sort of verse, it plays to that idea that if there's an outbreak of disease or a plague or something along those lines, a natural sort of event in an area, that if you're spared, you're righteous. If you're affected, then you're unrighteous. And we know that that's not how disease, that's not how, ecosystems work, where you do get locusts and you do get gnats and you do, like, these things are not targeted based upon your religiosity, your adherence to God, your anything that you're doing. They are just natural events. So this is kind of ridiculous. But it does sort of play into a lot of victim blaming that has happened throughout history by saying, hey, they got that plague, they got this unfortunate event because they are unrighteous. It's not great. It's not great. I wanted Pharaoh to see that I could distinguish between Egypt and my own people. Can you? Can you? Okay. The flies filled the houses and ruined the land while the Israelites were protected from them. I don't think that's any comfort, that the Israelites are protected, to say, just the average Egyptian family just trying to feed their family. They're a stone cutter. Or I mean, that was a highly regarded position, maybe a bit lower, just a labourer for the Egyptian, society. And he's got a family, has absolutely no say over what the pharaoh does, or anybody really. He's just a worker. And he's being attacked because the head of the country did something. I'm sure there's a Geneva Convention against that somewhere. But hey, and the reason why he's being attacked is because Yahweh decided to harden the pharaoh's heart so he would do something so his entire country could be punished. I don't know how you then turn around and say, this is the good book. This shows a perfect moral being, when he is punishing innocent people for something that he has leveraged onto a ruler of a country. Holy crap. I mean, wild, right? Pharaoh finally summoned Moses and offered a compromise. He said that the Israelites could sacrifice to me, but they had to do it with Egypt. Now, this is why I think that Moses was trying to do a runner, as we call it in Australia. He's trying to do a runner, right? He's trying to escape. And hey, if you're slaves in a country and you escape, more power to you, in my opinion. Like, that is, like, if you have to lie and cheat to get out of there and out of slavery, good for you. Good for you. But it's kind of ridiculous what Moses comes up with here. And I understand why Moses isn't doing the talking and says to God at the start of all of this, I can't convince anybody of anything. So get this. Moses explained that this wouldn't work because the Israelites' worship involved practices that the Egyptians would find offensive, and they would likely be attacked for doing them in front of the Egyptians. What? Like, really? But surely the Pharaoh can go, no, I will protect you while you do this. It's wild, right? Like, it's just, like, what? Like, they could do it in Egypt and not be in front of Egyptians. Do the Egyptians fill every square foot of this land? It's so wild. Like, but what I think is happening here is basically that Moses is basically saying, we're going to go out to the wilderness to do our ceremonies and come back. But they've got no intention of coming back, which I can't blame them. I mean, we know this story is a fiction, But if this was a real story, yeah, I can't blame a slave for wanting to say, hey, I'm just going to go out to the shops for a second. I'll be right back. And then gone. Done a runner. Hey, I can't blame him. But, you know, I don't think that, you know, and saying that to a pharaoh who presumably is intelligent, well, debatably intelligent enough to run a country, because there are people running countries, not mentioning any countries' names, USA, that have very stupid leaders, but presumably he's smart enough to know that this is bullshit, right? That this is just bullshit. Like, you know, oh, we can't do it here, we have to do it outside of the country because we'll be attacked by random people if we do it here. I mean, come on. It's kind of silly, right? Due to this problem, Moses insisted they need to go to the wilderness. Pharaoh eventually agreed to let them go a short distance away and worship me as long as Moses promised to make the flies disappear. Moses agreed, prayed to me, and I removed the fly. Then, completely predictably, and I say predictably, by the way, because literally God predicted it and basically, you know, said this is what will happen, Pharaoh changed his mind again. Now, I realize Pharaoh is clearly behaving badly here, as he repeatedly promises to let the Israelites go, waits till the pressure is removed, and then goes straight back to enslaving them. I'm not exactly defending him, but let's not forget, okay, that God says he will harden his heart, and he hardens his heart to not let them go. But I also have to acknowledge my part in the situation. I was deliberately escalating the suffering of an entire country because its ruler wouldn't comply with my demands. Again, I'm sure there is a Geneva Convention against this. The ordinary Egyptians were caught up in all of this too. They hadn't personally decided to enslave the Israelites. Yes, they were dealing with rivers of blood, infestations of gay frogs, clouds of gnats, and swarms of flies because Pharaoh wouldn't cooperate with me. I kept demonstrating that I had the power to stop the plagues, but I also kept creating new ones whenever the Pharaoh refused to do what I wanted. There's also the uncomfortable fact that I knew that Pharaoh would keep changing his mind. This wasn't a surprise to me. And that's what I pointed out earlier. God predicted all of this. I was allowing each plague to unfold because I intended to make the whole process to demonstrate use the whole process to demonstrate my power and make my name known throughout Egypt. And that is outlined in Exodus 8, I believe, where he's 8, 7? Maybe it's 7. Let me have a look. I think it might be 7. He sort of says he wants all of Egypt to know who he is, right? He wants them to know what he's capable of and who he is. Yes, Exodus 7. So this is where he says, he will not listen to you, right? So God knows this is going to happen. He 100% knows it's going to happen. Mighty acts of judgment, I'll bring out my divisions, my people, the Israelites, and the Egyptians will know I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring the Israelites out of it. So he's basically saying that that is his intention. That is his intention. That the Egyptians have to know who is in charge. Right, and the way he's going to do that is by punishing them for something he is enforcing, he is making the Pharaoh do by hardening his heart. It is like one of the most immoral passages of the entire Bible, because free will gets thrown out the window, any choice the Pharaoh has gets thrown out the window, and God punishes ordinary, everyday people, as well as the Pharaoh, as well as just animals, as well as everything in the country, for what God has done to them, has enforced upon them. In other words, the suffering wasn't simply an unfortunate consequence that I hadn't anticipated, as I knew he would refuse, and I told Moses as much before I even sent him. I could have freed the Israelites without covering Egypt in frogs. I could have convinced Pharaoh without filling his country with insects. I could have protected the Israelites without making everyone else suffer. Instead, I chose escalation because I wanted Pharaoh to understand that refusing me would have consequences. Yeah, so what you've got to understand is this isn't about freeing the Israelite slaves. What this is about, I mean, that is a side goal kind of thing, but it's about showing Egypt that the Israelite God is the all-powerful entity that can completely screw up their country if they want, right? That's what the story is basically getting into. Like that Israel and the nations of Israel and the tribes of Israel are powerful, right? Like they have the backing of these gods behind them. And so they can leave Egypt, or they can defy Egypt by having the power of their, powerful gods, that they're able to stand up to the largest power in the region. So now I'm wondering whether I'm the arsehole for sending gay frogs, gnats, and flies across Egypt to pressure Pharaoh into freeing the Israelites, particularly when I knew he would keep changing his mind and could have rescued my people without making an entire nation endure the consequences. Yeah, this is one passage where I just, when people are like, oh, God is perfect good, I do like to bring this passage up and say, how can someone be good for doing this, even if that is a God? Usually from there, I must say, usually in my discussions from there, it does turn into a definitional thing. Well, God is what good is, right? Like it's just God equals good. And so, but it really is this cognitive dissonance, right? Anybody that punishes innocent people for something that they have done cannot be good, right? Like that is a horrible thing to do. That is a horrible thing to do. It's just monstrous, especially when those people are, children and the elderly and vulnerable people. If you send a, plague of gnats to eat all the food, the people who will be affected first are the young and the old. People that, can't find their own food, people that are in a weakened state. Those are the people going to be affected first. So that is a whole other mess, and when we get to the next chapters of who is targeted in the next plagues is pretty horrible. Was God right for sending gay frogs to Egypt? And it has so many questions in it, like how were the magicians in Egypt able to do the same thing? I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. Now I'll go through the comments as per usual. Feel free to vote. The poll is up. Do some pole dancing. It's good for you. Good for your body and brain, apparently. Let's see. One of the best performances you've seen. What, Ray Gun? Oh, come on now. There's no need to make fun of her. She did her best, okay? Just yeah. Hey Tori, so good to see you. So good to see you. I'd participate in the nitty-noddy winding in the Olympics. What are you talking about? What is this thing? Look, there's some wild sports out there, right? There's some wild sports. I know that cheese rolling is a sport, like where people roll a cheese down a hill and everybody runs after it and tries to survive to get down this really steep hill. That's an English thing. I'm sure that's an English thing. My favorite sports calendar I've ever bought, and when I say sports calendar, I do mean sports calendar that I ever bought was extreme ironing. Okay, this was a revelation. It appealed to me so much. It was so funny. Extreme ironing. I will look up some examples of extreme ironing. It is just hilarious. It is just hilarious. Let me have a look. Let's see if I can find a picture. Yeah, extreme ironing. Okay. I don't know why this is a sport. It is a sport. Okay. Yes, extreme ironing. Yes. You wish you were as Chad as this man. Do they have a... Yeah, okay. They've only got a couple of pictures there. Hold it. I'll try to find some more. Yeah, extreme ironing. Yes. Extreme ironing. Yes. Extreme ironing. You wish you're as Chad as a man who is an ironing board on a hang glider. You wish you were that good. Nothing more manly than extreme ironing. Now you know. Now you know. Extreme ironing. You're welcome. You're welcome, internet. You're welcome. Where'd I put my thing? Oh, there it is. Whoop. There we go. Okay. I don't know what nitty noddy winding is. You're gonna have to let me know. I am ignorant. I am ignorant. Let's see. Yeah, Esperanto had some rough choices. Yeah, no, I get you. But it was a lot easier to learn than English. English has the stupidest rules. I mean, one of English's rules for spelling is I before E, except after C, except when the sound is A, exceptions. And there are a massive list of exceptions. That's not a rule. When the exceptions are longer than the instances, that's not a rule. It's not. Like you, beautiful, not at all practical. I think you're practical, Tommy. I think you're practical. I mean, you can be, I guess. It turned out Romance language is the same trend as English getting one over Norman French. A small ruling charge cannot flip the whole population's way to speak. Yeah, so basically they integrate, which is, you know, something that English is good at. There's so many words that English uses that did not originate from English. It's yeah, it's not bad. I think that yeah, maybe you know, making a new language that everybody can share is a good idea. Look, Esperanto was a fantastic idea. I didn't learn it, but I like the idea. Yeah. No, sending animals is not making you an asshole. Not forcing them to behave themselves so they can become a plague does. Yes. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Yep. Francescas are the Frankish throwing axes. There is no Frank as weapon, despite there being a Saxons for the Saxons, yes, and an Alasphere for the Alemanni. Okay, interesting. I know that Francescas were the throwing axes. The Ra frogs were gay. Yes, but how do you tell they're gay, Aunt Jer? Like, if chemicals turn your frickin' frogs gay, how do you tell the frogs are gay? Alex Jones had a way. He keeps it a secret. Only gives it out to people that buy his supplement pills. It's not right. It's not right. Okay? He needs to tell us how he discovered the freaking frogs were gay. Look, forget about the whole, you know, suing him for the incredible amount of misinformation. Make him release the files on gay frogs. Did they not dare to complain to Ra for frogs? Pretty sure the god in charge of the Nile was not the sun god, but does it matter? I don't remember. Well, apparently Amun-Ra was the head god, kind of the one in charge kind of thing. So, hey, I know they had, like, gods of the Nile specifically. I think Wasn't the crocodile god Amet like a god of the Nile kind of thing? Because look, I mean, if I had crocodiles in my backyard, I might worship them in hopes of preventing them from eating me. You know, they're pretty. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Boy gods fought for position a lot over many thousands of years. Yeah. Of course the Ra frogs were gay. You could see it by their little straw hat and walking canes singing "Hello, my darling." Okay. Is that from a Disney thing or something? I don't know what. Oh, wait, that was from a Looney Tunes thing, wasn't it? Where, like, every time somebody looked at the frog, it was normal, and then it did. I think I know what you're talking about. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good indication. I gotcha. I gotcha. Hey, Seth, so good to see you. Dr. Kip, I hope the vacation's gone well. Hope it's smooth, relaxing. Sounds really good. Sounds really good. I hope you're having a good time. Is it a staycation or have you gone somewhere? I hope you're doing fantastic. I like the staycation. I don't mind visiting places. I don't mind traveling, but my wife isn't much of a traveler. She doesn't like traveling that much, and it can be stressful. You know, I'm a big fan of the stay vacation, like the staycation when I can. I think that's pretty cool. Or like just traveling like a couple of hours kind of thing away is kind of nice, you know, like I like it. Um, Crotch frogs doesn't have the same rituals as crotch crickets. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I will fight you on that, STS. I will fight you on that. Crotch frogs, always a problem. Always a problem. What, instead of a plague of frogs, is a plague of John Lennoxes? Weird. I yeah, Ember. Yeah, absolutely, Ember. One Lennox is a plague. Yes, our single John Lennox is a plague of John Lennox. Yeah. I feel like that amount of pompous in one area would just make an explosion of arrogance that would destroy everything. I don't think it'd be possible. Put two in a room and you're flirting with danger, quite frankly. Let's see. Telling every Egyptian the story of the cookbook he gave his wife and the apple cake. I don't know. Gonad, goblin, crotch frogs, or saber-toothed crotch crickets. Decisions. Yeah, I mean, God had a lot of options. And again, he could have just teleported the people away or turned them invisible or just basically parted the Egyptians, that just made the Egyptians forget that they were there. There's a million things he could have done, and he settled on crotch frogs. Wow. What if they were the frogs that have poison skin and they kept jumping on you? Yeah, okay, so you're talking about the poison arrow frogs. I think they're called arrow frogs from the Amazon. You don't pick them up. They're really colorful because if you pick them up, they will poison your ass. Yeah, they're really dangerous as well. I think they're called arrow frogs from recollection, because the native tribes used to like put put their arrows on their poison to like poison them, kind of thing, which is inventive. Ugly Gem, well, of course the Egyptian wizards could not turn the dust into gnats, as when you do it once, all the dust is gone. Yeah, yeah. Imagine if that's your dusting, you know, forget the feather duster, we've got the gnatometer, 5,000. Turns all the dust into gnats, which then fly out the window. Yeah, so then you don't have a dust problem, you've got a gnat problem. But you're not wrong. If all the dust was turned into gnats, then they couldn't do it because there was no dust. Fair enough. Must have been the cleanest 2 days that Egypt ever been. I presume that Egypt has a sand problem, not a dust problem. I presume. But hey, that might be a big presumption. I'm sure there is a ton of dust there. Hello, Gabrielle. Good to see you. Omniscience. Yeah, it did not count. Yeah, so knowing about the Amazon did not count among the omniscience of Yahweh. Yeah, yeah, Ancho's right. It's omniscience. Yep. Yeah, for some reason he couldn't get frogs that existed in other places. Don't know why. Don't know why. The stonecutters from The Simpsons? Yeah, that was just the Masons. That was just a Freemasons reference, for sure. Look, I don't... Look, this whole thing about the Freemasons being a secret society that's controlled... They're just a bunch of dudes. Probably want just some time away from their house and wives and stuff. They're just doing... They're just playing pretend, as far as I'm aware. Like, they're just a bunch of dudes playing pretend, pretending to be important, pretending to be significant. I don't know. It just... That entire thing is a bit silly to me. You go home on Monday? Well, enjoy your time, my friend. Enjoy your time. God's Diary? Yeah, no, Archer's right. We're reading God's IGTA. So there is a subreddit on Reddit, if you're not familiar with it. It's Am I the Asshole, where people put in their circumstances, like, you know, I had a flatmate and they refused to pay the rent, and then I, you know, took a dump in their bed or something. Am I the asshole? They ask if they are the asshole or not, if they're wrong for having done that. So we're simply applying that to, instead of the roommate taking a dump in your bed, it is God punishing whoever, and just working through the Old Testament at the moment, seeing if you know, people deserved this, or if God is just a giant asshole. If he was a human posting a post on Reddit to see what the people thought. And pretty much, yeah, if that was a person doing that, wow. Wow. What a jerk. What a jerk. Stick around for the poll. You'll be able to vote on whether God is the arsehole. You absolutely would. You absolutely would. But the more important thing is, why is he an arsehole, or why not is he an arsehole? Like, it's very easy to say, hey, somebody's an arsehole for doing this. The hard part is saying, why are they or why aren't they? I mean, someone taking a dump in your bed, it's pretty easy to explain why that's an arsehole. It's because that person had a lot of options for dealing with a bad roommate, and taking a dump in a bed is not the best solution. In fact, I would probably say it makes it a lot worse. So, you know, why he's not an arsehole for doing all of this is a good question. And I don't think it's enough to say, well, because it's God and God is good. I don't think that's enough of a reason. I think that it has to be a better reason than that. No, you can't just say, well, definitionally, God is good, so everything he does is good. I don't think that's a good... I don't think that's an adequate explanation for anything. I think it comes up later on in the book. Well, yeah, it does come up later on. That's okay. That's all right. One episode should have just passed where the one God tells Moses and Aaron to seek out to do God's bidding on the way, then assaults them. Yes, we just passed that one. And that's where he first went to the Pharaoh, right, before any of the miracles and stuff involved. So Aaron and Moses went out to do what God had commanded, and God literally tried to kill them on the road. He was going to kill them. And then, as you pointed out, Moses' wife cut off his foreskin of his son, and that placated a god for reasons unknown. So there's a lot of unknowns in that UGT. Like, why did he ask him to do something and then try to kill him when he obeyed? Why did a foreskin stop him? Who knows? It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Ugly German Truth says, yeah, it seems a bit wasteful to go through 10 steps of magical tricks if he could have just told Moses to lead the Israelites to the Nile and then do the drowning thing anyway. I'm not sure what you mean by the drowning. Oh, yeah, like he could have just parted the Nile and gone the other way. Presumably, though, that would have sent him in the wrong direction. But, yeah, he could have just... Look, he could have just taken out the Pharaoh's army
with these plagues and not affected any of the other country, right? If he can preserve the Israelites, he can stop it from affecting, just average Egyptian people and just take it out on, just have the Israelites start to leave and then, send gay frogs and gnats and all the things against the army that follows. He doesn't have to do it to everybody, right? Unless he does for some reason. I have no idea. Kip says, yeah, bridegroom of blood. I think it's a reflection of the origins of circumcision as an ancient coupling ritual. The words circumcise and bridegroom are both semantically related. Oh, interesting. Okay. That's a weird relation. Okay. Ember blames Platonius for God equals good. Yeah, it's not much of an argument. It's sort of just definitional things. Well, God is defined as good, therefore everything God does is good. There's some real problems with that. Some real problems. Most of the people, yes, that a lot of people do roll down the hill and hurt themselves. It's just one of those things that's just a wild sport. A niddy noddy is a device that you wind a yarn around to make skeins. Oh, interesting. Okay, so not crochet, seamstressing kind of stuff. Interesting. Yarn around to make skeins. Huh. Interesting. Doesn't even have a full basket of shirts to iron, just that. It's extreme ironing, okay? Part of the extremeness is that you don't have a full basket. That's the thing. Hey, SP. Same thing every week, trying to take over the world. I wish Lil was here. Yeah, she would have gotten the joke. I'm sorry. I'm about as, I am craft challenged, okay? I do not have the necessary craftiness. I am not crafty at all. I gotta say, it's not something that I'm good at. So it's my fault. Your niche joke was great. I just had I was lacking the crafting ability to get it. That's a tragedy, but it is what it is. That comment was with English was about Franks and how France got their name, not Esperanto. Okay, got you. It's about how France got their name French. Gotcha. Okay. Yes, it was from a Looney Tune. Was it Looney Tunes? And it was like a singing frog episode. It was from a Looney Tunes thing. And so the name of it was Michigan J Frog. Now you know. Now you know. But like there's a dude there's like a dude who keeps trying to catch the show people that the frog dances, and every time he shows somebody it just sits there and goes brrr. I remember that, Oh, that's cool. Yeah, hang out. Yeah, absolutely. Poison dart frogs. Thank you, Claire. Thank you. Poison dart frogs. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. My grandfather was a mason, mainly for the monthly prime rib dinners. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no girls allowed. Absolutely right, Jer. Absolutely. The masons are basically no girls allowed. We just want to hang out with the bros and do bro things. Okay. Sure. It's basically just a male version of a, women's book club, basically. In Sandring says, we still need to do a movie review night. Oh, yeah, Sandring. We absolutely do. Did I get raided? Is that something that happened? Or can I raid Nick? Is Nick still going as Sandring? Can I raid him? Knitting, not sewing. Oh, my apologies. My apologies. Okay. We watched Midsummer. That I love that movie. Look, that was a disturbing movie. I got to say, it was good. It was really good. I did prefer Hereditary. I thought that was absolutely wildly scary. That was a wild and scary movie. I do appreciate a good scary movie, and before I had seen Hereditary, I hadn't seen one for a while, and that was genuinely disturbing, really. K-pop Demon Hunters. I think I've already reviewed a little of that. They ate their wives, Eve's story. Okay. No, you're done for the night? Oh, that's a shame. All right. Ever noticed that the song has the order Pinky and the Brian? And the order, one is genius and the other's insane. Pinky is the genius and Brain is insane. Well, I don't know about that. Maybe. That's definitely a perspective. That's definitely a perspective. I think it's got more to do with the fact that they've got to rhyme it. And Pinky doesn't rhyme with genius. So they've got to put it the other way round. Right? Because if they put like Brain and and Pinky, they wouldn't be able to rhyme it with insane. So that's why I think it's like that. But you could be right. You could be right. Damn it. Okay, tell Nick he's got to hang in there for my raid. How dare he? No, he's fine. He's fine. I'm only joking. Anyway, let's see. And the poll says, yeah, God's an arsehole. Everyone sucks. Oh, someone voted no arsehole. I'd love to know why. Unless you're contending that God did not, in fact, harden Pharaoh's heart as he said he would, and then says he did. I'd like to know that is, but that's fine. You can disagree. We can disagree and still be friends. That's the thing. We can disagree and we can still be friends. That's all right. Yeah, look, I'm sure that happened in the history of humanity. That's the thing. But it is very confronting. It's very like the stuff that she does is just wow. Yeah, so that's the show. We've gone through Exodus 7 and 8. Apparently, God is a giant a-hole in these books, as I do think that. I think that anytime you are forcing someone to do something and then punishing someone else for it, like there's a level of lack of consideration for anybody that is not associated with the argument that you're currently having. The lack of consideration for it. It is this idea that because a people are being ruled by somebody, they deserve what happens to them. Look, I don't like who's in charge of the US right now, but I would never say that the people deserve to have bad things happen to them because the person in charge is a bad person. I think using a little empathy, you could say, well, how would I feel if, somebody didn't like my government and then took it out on ordinary citizens? There's a name for that. It's called terrorism, right? When somebody doesn't like what your government is doing, so they attack the citizens of that country and screw them up. That's terrorism, right? And so why isn't God being a terrorist, especially as he's forcing the Pharaoh to do this? He is punishing the everyday people for what the Pharaoh is doing, what the leader is doing. There are so many problems in this. So many problems. Oh, Kip, have you seen Hereditary? Have you seen Hereditary? Hereditary is Midsummer, but like way worse. There is an Australian actress in it called Toni Collette, who is just like the entire cast is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but Toni Collette, wow, wildly good, just so wildly good, uncomfortably, disturbingly good at her portrayal. If you haven't seen Hereditary, Midsummer is good. Hereditary is fantastic, like just up a notch. It is really, really just wildly. If you liked Midsummer, Hereditary is just better. It's fantastic, like disturbingly, absolutely disgusting and confronting and oof. No, I haven't seen it. I know what it's about, and I haven't seen it. I do want to see it, though. I do want to see that. Yeah, no, I agree, Tori. We don't punish ordinary people for their government. We don't make them absolutely suffer. We don't make them absolutely suffer for what their government's doing. I mean, or we try not to, or we don't sort of make that our intention. You know what I mean? Like, we don't say, hey, America's got to know how powerful we are, so we've got to punish ordinary people. No, like there's other ways of doing that. Yeah, that's not bad. That wasn't bad. I did like that. Yes, that was good. That was absolutely good. Yeah, she recommended that one to me as well. Absolutely good. Yes. Yep. All right. Well, that has been... Am I the arsehole? Is God the arsehole? Or is he a benevolent deity who just can't seem to get things right? Or is he a complete arsehole? The polls have spoken. You know the result. God is a complete a-hole, according to you guys. I would have the tendency to agree. Thank you so much for joining me. Always enjoy your company. Big shout out to Stop the Stupidity for sending in those memberships. Memberships are available. Please, I beg of you, to like and subscribe. You will forever prevent your Nile from being bloody if you like, subscribe, and share this video. And I love talking to you in the chat, so I will be back next week. Tomorrow there is a members-only stream, so if you wanted a membership, now's the time. Any level of membership will get you in. I will just be chilling out, playing games. I'd love to get Lil in for a game of Civilization, just so we can talk and, talk about politics, religion, social issues, anything else that comes up. But people are always welcome to join and chat there, so grab that right now. Before it goes away. I'm not sure why it would go away. It's not going away. You can think about it and make your mind up. That's fine. Don't be Pharaoh. I won't force you to do something, then punish it for you. Okay? I won't do that because I'm not a douchebag. Anyway, do take care. Be kind to yourself. Be kind. If you are having a hard time, be kind, give yourself leeway, give yourself room. It's not a god, it's just circumstances. You're not being punished for something your leaders have done. It is just a consequence of certain things occurring in reality. Don't take it personally. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
To what new horizons can we look now? Where are tomorrow's opportunities? The frontiers of the future are not on any map. But now, what's ahead of us?